Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Elite Real Estate Podcast. We get that long intro, but it's recorded, so it helps me out that I pre-recorded that. I don't have to say it every week, so I appreciate you guys jumping in this morning again. I am super stoked, guys, about my guest in house this morning, and everybody can see us now. So, Cheri Najor,
Hello, good morning.
good morning. How are you?
I am so well.
I
It's such a pleasure
uh,
being with you.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited for this morning.
Thank you.
And for those of you that are watching right now, I'm going to let Cheri introduce herself, but we have only spoken on the phone a couple times.
Yes.
One of those being like last night, right?
Yes.
um, but I was so excited to get you on because the energy that is, I told everybody, I kind of warned everybody yesterday. I'm like, this, you guys aren't ready for this energy yet. I don't think.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you. You have a you have a high energy, but it's got a kindness and a compassion to it. You have a great vibe. You
I
just have
appreciate that.
such a great vibe. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome.
But so Cheri, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and because you got a lot of initials after your name,
I do.
and therapist, and mental health, and all the things that all of us real estate and entrepreneurs need so badly, probably right now.
Yeah.
So how did you get started, and well, I know where we ran into each other, but how did you get started this, and where did your path begin?
Well, let me think. My path really began. I fell in love with learning as a child. So at a very young age, I was fascinated with a stray dog that my aunt rescued. And I wanted to teach him how to sit and beg and roll over. That led me to a book by Barbara Woodhouse. I am dating myself, called Good Dogs, Great Owners. I read the book, I'm 12. I applied the principles in the book to the dog. Next thing I know, the dog is sitting up, begging, rolling over, all with hand signals. At that moment, I became addicted to the idea of something that was unable to do something, an animal in this case, and then through instruction and positive reinforcement could do something willingly. And that led me literally on a journey of reading. I became a reading addict, a reading junkie. And then I became so I went to college and I got a number of degrees. I fell in love with Michigan State and never wanted to leave. And that led to a number of degrees, which is now going to lead me to all the letters after my name. So
Yeah.
I got 4 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree, and started a training company at a young age and started developing workshops. And I fell in love with watching people have epiphanies, watching them learn, and there really nothing's changed. I now am a therapist, a licensed therapist. I have a business in Royal Oak. I work with families, couples, individuals on, specifically to elevate mental health and deal with all the challenges. But fundamentally, it's still teaching, coaching, same love you have, right?
Yeah.
Of having someone struggle with something and they don't know how to make their way out, and you play this small role in helping them tap into what's already there. You don't do anything so much as you open up spaces for people to take risks in a safe place, for them to learn something new. And you need to learn about how people learn in order to do that. And I have been in love with that process my whole life, and I'm still doing it today. So there you go. That's what I do. That's it.
And I mean, really, that's a very brief explanation, obviously, right, of what you do. But it is that passion of, and it's kind of what I feel too. It's when I can have someone have that light bulb moment that I'm helping try to figure something out. And it's no different than raising kids, and all the things are the same different. Teaching the dog how to roll over.
It starts with I don't know how to do something, and now I do, and then the impact of that is amazing to watch.
Yeah.
From not knowing to knowing, and that's really what life is about. Honestly, it really
Yeah.
is. It's about learning, growing, changing, and excavating what's already inside of you. It's a beautiful process. So
It
yeah,
is.
yeah,
It is. And
yeah.
it's one of those things I didn't realize it as early as you did, to figure that out. but it was kind of always there, right? Mine
Mhm.
was the sports thing. So
Mhm.
it was like if I could show, do this and teach somebody how to do that, then that was cool.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize it until later on of how I could then transform that into someone else too, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the biggest things. And the other thing that we've talked about a bunch of times too is the emotional intelligence piece.
Yes.
And once I got introduced to that, so again, later in life, right? So I got introduced to like emotional intelligence, and I didn't really know. I was like, just keeping your emotions in check. Is that all we're talking about?
Right,
Like
right.
that's simple. Just don't fly off the handle, right? Like that's the simple part.
Exactly.
But it's not the simple part.
No, it isn't. It isn't. You know, so when you asked me about my background, for about 35 years, I had a training and speaking company. So I developed, I don't know, just a lot of workshops, many, 40 or 50 workshops, all on interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. And emotional intelligence was one of my best selling seminars. And that brings us to what you wanted to talk about today, which is how do you apply emotional intelligence to the sales process, which I taught sales classes as well.
Yeah.
And how can we help your audience really in real time understand what's EI, how do I apply that to my work, how do I connect with people and really grow my business.
Yeah. Because I've brought this up on our coaching calls in the morning, and I've talked about it at different events and different things that I've been able to speak at. And it's like handle this emotional intelligence piece, but I don't think people really know what it is, right? So it's kind of like, but people hear it; it's a buzzword,
Sure.
right? And it's in our climate right now with all the things that we're seeing, whether it's TV, radio, or whatever we're seeing, right? It's like this, people are like, well, people just fly off the handle, and that's a piece.
That's a piece.
That's a piece. Again, it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Again, whatever way you're looking at the iceberg, but it's a very small piece of that. And so you put that into, again, that was another thing that was super interesting to me is how you developed this all with sales coaching too, right? And how to emotionally, like, not detach from the deal, right? But we talked about it just before we jumped on today is stop selling and start helping people.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Please stop selling.
Yeah.
Hashtag please don't.
And people that are listening are going to be like, oh my God, Jimmy says this all the time. Like,
Yes.
Stop selling people and start helping.
Please.
Yeah, please stop selling everyone.
For all of our benefits, please.
So the emotional intelligence piece, how does that, with your background in sales and all that stuff, how did that come about? Like, how did you start that process? Like,
such a great question, but it was many years ago. A lot of my clients were Ford, GM, Blue Cross, large corporations that were interested in performance improvement. So when Daniel Goleman wrote his book, and if you have a notebook, please write this down, must read Daniel Goleman, who wrote Emotional Intelligence 30 plus years ago. And Daniel Goleman was on the shoulders of giants himself. Then he wrote EI, which is obviously we just say EI. Once you get emotional, it's just too much to say. So we say EI.
We're going to initial everything.
We're going to initial everything. Then he wrote EI at work, emotional intelligence at work. Now everyone's talking about it, but this was 30 years ago. So businesses were asking me, help us improve performance, help us teach us skills that will help people get along better, help us increase our sales. So now I'm dealing with AT&T and Wow Cable and just large companies that wanted to make a big difference in their people's numbers. And so that then led me to applying EI to sales. But in a nutshell, emotional intelligence, a part of it is the ability to regulate yourself. But what we learned was back in the 60s, right, when men were getting sent off to war, the government had to have an easy way to put people in buckets. Back then, all they knew was IQ. So we had IQ is a measure of intelligence. But what we quickly learned was that although IQ measures things like problem solving and executive functioning, it doesn't tap into or measure the ability of someone to understand themselves, which is intrapersonal awareness, and to relate to others, interpersonal. So what we discovered by measuring the ability to do those two things was that EI accounts for over 83% and up to 90% of what you, Jimmy, would determine to be life success.
Yeah.
So then you have to ask the question, well, what does that mean? What does that mean to be successful, right? People have a lot of different definitions of that. I'm sure of 7 billion people on the planet, 7 billion definitions. But if I were to ask you, what for you, when you are coaching people, when you've got your real estate team, how would you define success? Now, there's no right or wrong,
Yeah.
but how would you define that? Because EI accounts for up to 90% of life success. And just for those folks out there who want to make money, up to 30% more in income. So how would you define it?
So again, now I have to put my thinking cap on.
Just a little bit.
And I define success of, because I'm a big believer in finding out what success means to the person I'm coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have to find that out first.
Mm-hmm.
And then do I have to push them, pull them, right, to get to what they think is successful, right? Meaning, is the bar too low for them? Like, could they go over what they even think they're capable of doing?
Mm-hmm.
But also, what makes them happy? Right? Because I'm a big believer too. Like, if you want to make $1 million a year, you go make $1 million a year. But everybody wants to be a millionaire until they figure out what millionaires have to do, right? And when they figure out they don't sleep, they don't eat, they don't, they're like that, and that's nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Where do you want to be then, right? And find out what their level of success is.
Sure.
Yeah. So for me, saying it,
yeah,
it's, I would say whatever your goals are, then we'll get you to whatever your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Does that answer that question, or am I dodging it?
No, you're not dodging it. I was just interested in how, if I'm making the claim, and I am, that emotional intelligence is the pathway to success.
Yeah.
It opens up the door for, well, what does that mean? So I was just curious, when you think about your life and you think, this is how I define a successful life, what comes to mind for you?
For me,
yeah.
That my family's taken care of, in a sense that we're happy, right? Like, happiness, I guess, is mine, right? Money is great, but happiness is more important. You know what I mean? Like, happiness to me is more important. That, health and happiness with my family, that's the most important thing, right? I'm built on faith and family. Like, those are my two things. And if those are good, I'm good. That's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, most people really, most people define success. Happiness is in there.
Yeah.
Fulfillment is in there. Agency is in there. Self-control. Relationships, always fundamental. So if you look at how most people, and we'll just talk about the US, for example, but you could go really globally and say, what do people really want? That's really what success. What do you want out of life? We want deep relationships. We want to feel connected to the world. We want to have a good relationship with ourselves. We want to have our physical needs met. All of those things, they're across the board. So emotional intelligence, then, if we use that definition, I have housing, I have my basic needs met, I'm loved, I have friends, I have a social life, I laugh, I have my health, I have resilience, and when I have a hard time, there's a community of people that surround me to help me out. Okay, you could probably throw a number in there in terms of finances that would vary across culture. But really what we know is that once your basic needs are met, that the happiness needle doesn't move by much at all. And in the United States, it's about the $70,000 to $80,000 range right now that I can afford housing and food and gas. That number's going up, by the way.
Yeah.
But let's just land
what's not going
up? Eggs were $12.
Right.
We got the whole egg conversation.
Everybody was buying chickens.
Everyone's got backyard chicken. Okay, we got that down. But that the desire for fulfillment doesn't move by, it moves by a hair once those basic needs are met. So you can go from, let's say, what we would call a good living or a stable living. We're in Michigan, all your needs are met, your housing, etc. And you can go from, let's say, 80 to 100,000 a year. You can go from that to 2 million. But what we know about the fulfillment factor is it doesn't move much. To your point, you're going to work a lot harder. But at the end of your life, the happiness needle hasn't really budged. So success then is individual. but we really need to look at it more as like I think just what do most people looking for? And it's the relationship, the fulfillment, all those things. So that's where EI plays a crucial role.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the point you just brought up too, so because then that difference too, like we've talked exhaustively probably on a show and through our coaching stuff about the disc profile.
Yes.
Right. Like the disc profile is another thing that we always lean on.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even with our clients, like what's your client's profile? Like, no, we're not giving every one of our clients a disc profile to take. I mean, it would help us out a lot.
Yes. Yes.
But sometimes there's some guesswork in there and you can guess pretty close with the disc profile if that's a driver or not.
Yeah, you have to know what you're listening for, right? What you're looking for,
Yeah.
and have that in the back of your mind. Right?
Yeah.
You can do Myers-Briggs. There's all kinds of ways to profile people. Right?
Oh man,
Yeah.
This show could be like 3-4 hours. We could really we could really get into this. So through our conversation last night, we talked about the emotional intelligence and how do we put that into practice as a real estate agent?
Yeah.
Right. And how do what's that conversation like as far as when I go meet with a client, right, and I'm trying to list their house, mm-hmm. How does emotional intelligence affect my conversation?
Well, we did talk about EI
last
night. It was a fun conversation. For those of your audience that aren't familiar with EI as a concept, it really falls into 2 buckets. So emotional intelligence is the ability of a human being to do 2 things. One, we call intrapersonal awareness, my relationship with myself. And so interpersonal skills in that bucket include how self-aware are you? That's first and foremost. How skillful are you at self-regulating? That would be the second skill. And then are you able to motivate yourself? You can imagine how this plays into all of life, sports, parenting, real estate. So how do you regulate yourself? What is your relationship to yourself? That's bucket number 1. Bucket number 2 is interpersonal skills, which you are a master of, right? You have mastered the art of social skills. So now we look at how well do you communicate? What is your empathic factor? Are you able to empathize with people? Which is the ability then to recognize underlying needs in someone. Empathy is the ability for me to connect with you, to understand what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and then to reflect that back to you. So you might think of that as someone who's very charismatic, who connects easily. They're high on the EI social side. Someone who's very regulated, someone who's really aware of themselves, who knows how they're perceived by others, would be high on the intrapersonal side. So you've got those buckets. And then the skills that are involved in that obviously include building trust, your ability to listen, your ability to resolve conflicts. And all of these in the day that I was growing up were all called soft skills. And back in the day, soft skills were just that. Eye roll, soft skills. Can we just push that aside and land the plane and get the sale? That's where I came from. Well, now all of these skills, these 2 buckets are everything.
Yeah.
And you know someone with low EI. If you ever watch Seinfeld, George Costanza was the character that all of us loved because George was so socially unaware. And what made us laugh about George, if for those of you who haven't, you have to watch, was that he would walk into a restaurant and simply because the waitress looked at him and took his order for eggs and juice, he would look at Jerry and say, "Jerry, she wants me." Yeah. And we would all laugh because she just took your order, George. There's nothing happening. George, there's nothing happening here. Dude, you're delusional. Yeah. And the entire episode was watching George fumble his way through social interactions, and we delighted because he was so lovable.
Right.
So.
And that is it's so in today's age of selling, right? Yes. Not selling, helping.
Please.
Right.
Please stop.
Yeah. We're helping people. Mm-hmm. How does that translate for us having conversations with clients, right? Or potential clients?
So I'm going to say something that.
Are we getting controversial?
A little bit.
Yes.
Well, no. Yeah,
this will go viral, maybe.
A little bit. We've heard so often that you need to listen. We've heard it so much that we don't even know what it means anymore, much less how to do it. I'm saying this like over my career. I have taught thousands and thousands of people these skills. And the vast majority of people, and I'm sorry to say, but I have to say, if you ask the average person, are you a good listener? Most people will say yes. And the vast majority of us are very poor listeners. And it's not because we're bad people. It's because we haven't really been taught how to listen at a very deep level. And the idea of active listening just really makes me want to claw my eyes out because that's not it. It's much more than that. It's not only deeply listening in an empathic level, for example, the skill you talk about in order to connect, not sell, but it's listening for what's not being said. So that's a skill, and that is a very deep skill. And so we would discuss in the real estate field, the real goal here, if it's not to sell you, then what is it? What is the goal? And if the goal is to connect with you and to build trust with you and to really understand you and to not get trapped by what you say, for example, that's too much money, or I think my house is worth 450. And meanwhile, you, the realtor, know it's really worth 420. If you get hooked by the top of the conversation and you start trying to convince someone that they're wrong because you aren't able to and don't know how to use EI to get under that conversation, you have to have an emotional shovel and you have to know what to dig for. And if you haven't been taught that, then you're trapped at the numbers. And now you're going to try and convince. And once you do that, you've lost. But you don't know that you've lost because you don't know what you're digging for. And that's not because people are bad, wrong, or stupid. I mean, let's get all that judgment out.
Yeah.
Right. That's low EI. Right. Blame, judgment, all of that. Very low EI behavior. We have enough of that in the world. Turn on the news and you can get your fill in 5.3 seconds.
Yeah.
So we put all that aside and we say, what are we really doing here? Sales has a tinge, if not a cloud over it, of a push. When you say the word sales, most people don't want to be sold. And why is that? Because it is not about them, it's about the salesperson's interest, and they feel push. So if we take the word sales out and we say consult, or if we take the word sales out and we say connect, now we have a very different frame around our conversation. But if you go into an interaction thinking about yourself, thinking about what's in it for you, and this is very difficult because you're hungry and you need to make money. Why? Because we're trying to pay the mortgage and we've got tariffs and interest rates are up and the market's soft and I'm freaking out because college is around the corner.
Yep.
Okay. You're operating from fear. Now enter self-awareness. So if you have self-awareness, you then would be able to regulate yourself enough to regulate that fear, to listen deeply and go underneath what we typically call an objection, which isn't an objection. They don't exist. What it is a concern, right?
Yep.
Which I need to understand. So on the one hand, my house is worth 450, but you know, but based on the comps you've done, it's really only going to bring 420 unless somebody has 30,000 more that they want to bring to the table. You have to now understand the architecture of that conversation in a way that doesn't make them wrong, that connects you to them and really gets at the issue. And that's EI.
Yeah. We're going to rewind because it's mind boggling, right? Now, you and I have had a couple conversations where I'm like, oh my gosh, I never looked at it this way either, right? You just said there's no objections.
No, I don't believe in them.
Yeah. And so what is it? It's not an objection, but
No.
what is it?
Okay, think of it this way. Back in the day, Jimmy, you were single at one point.
Yep.
And you were out looking for a mate.
Yep.
Because we know that because you have one now.
Yeah. I do.
And she's amazing.
Yeah, and she's put the 25-year anniversary on around the corner.
25 years and we love her.
Yeah.
Okay, don't know her, we love her. So imagine when you were dating, imagine meeting a woman who also was in the field of the singles world. And you were having a conversation, which we all have had. And in the back of our mind, we're always asking, so what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Right? What are you looking for? Now, imagine that you want to be married and have children. And the woman that you're interested in says, right now, I'm just not ready for marriage. I'm not. I'm really just looking for a good time. I'm really looking just to spend time with someone, right?
Yep.
Would you in your mind think for one moment, now just imagine, how do I overcome her objection?
Yeah, I mean, no, but maybe.
Okay, depending on
what
how
I
young
asked.
you are.
Yeah.
Would it occur to you to hear that as resistance or an objection?
Yeah, that would just be resistance, I guess, right? I mean,
You want to be married.
Yeah.
She has said to you, I'm kind of looking for someone to hang out with. Would you then go to a skill set that said how to overcome objections in a woman who doesn't want to marry?
no. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would you do naturally? You're a high EI guy. Let's
Yeah.
get real. What would you naturally do? We're just throwing this out. What would you do?
So I would almost just pass by that. It wouldn't even, it's not an object. I would just keep going, right? If I was really interested.
No, you're really interested.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it wouldn't even affect me.
Okay. But she's just said to you, I really don't want that. But
Yeah.
you do. But you're actually thinking, there's a lot here. Hang on
Yeah.
a minute. Wait a minute. There's something here. Assume you want to continue the relationship. What would be something you're going to get there? What would you naturally do? I don't really want to be in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
I really just am interested in dating.
Yeah. So I would just go down the dating route, because I would, in my head, I would be able. This kind of happened with my wife, actually.
Yeah.
Because she told her parents, it's not like I'm going to marry the guy.
Mhm.
But it would be, I would just keep continuing on. If I was that interested, I would just keep continuing on with dating and whatever else, because I'm going to eventually, I know it's going to work out.
Eventually, you're going to win her over.
Yeah, eventually it's going to work out.
Because you're so charming.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. Okay.
So, but I guess it's not overcoming an objection. It's not an objection. What she just gave me.
No, what did she give you? What did she say? I'm not interested in getting married right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Then I just keep moving.
Well, that would be one option.
Yeah.
You could just keep moving. The other that I was really interested in is, tell me more about that. Like, oh, were you in a
were you in a bad relationship?
Were you in a bad relationship? Oh, what were you? Is that something that you'd be interested in the future?
Yeah.
Tell me about your history. What do you think about relationships? What are you looking for in a relationship? Right? You would inquire. You would want to know more. You would, in essence, be saying, tell me more about that.
You mean I would ask more questions?
Camera 2. Camera 2. Yes. You could keep going down the dating road, or you could try to understand, where are you coming from? What does this mean to you? Help me understand you. You're not overcoming anything. You're overcoming. You're uncovering and you're understanding. So if you come from that frame, which is tell me more, I'm so interested in that. You aren't jumping over an objection, nor are you pushing someone or even hearing it in your own mind. You're not hearing it as a hand up, as a stop. You're hearing it as a door just opened. And that is a very different frame. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about that. Tell me about that. So let's go back to your example of, my house is worth $450 and you're an idiot for wanting to sell it for $420. What's wrong with you? Great. Let's go there. Now you're going to use self-awareness to regulate yourself, because what just came up for you was fear. What just came up for you was fear. And typically you're going to feel fear in your body. So when you get scared, where do you feel fear?
Yeah, that's right there, right in my stomach, right? Like it hits me right there.
Okay, me too. I get the twisty in my stomach. So if you're self-aware and you have body awareness, you're going to feel it. And right there, if you catch the fact that this person's scaring me, because now I feel pressured to fold under the pressure of they're leading this now. I've lost control because my fear is taking over. You would be able to do something very simple, like regulate yourself in that moment. And this is going to sound silly, but if it's good enough for a Navy SEAL, it's good enough for realtors.
Yeah.
Which is a very deep breath in, and you can hold it for about 3 to 4 seconds. And while the person's talking about the fact that their house is worth $450, you're regulating your nervous system through breathing. You can't consciously breathe without the thought, I'm going to take a breath. So right away, you have a space between the sensation of fear and your understanding of its impact in this moment, and you're breathing your way through it by activating your parasympathetic nervous system. Now you are back in biological control. Now your brain and your body are in sync and you know what's happening. So you're not flooded by stress hormones. Adrenaline, norepinephrine, cortisol aren't flooding your frontal lobe, right? Your brain, the executive function. Now we're in EI. And now I know what's happening. I'm breathing. I'm aware I'm afraid. I understand what's happening and I know where to go. And that can take about 3 to 5 seconds. So once you're regulated, now you're in the self-awareness bucket. And now you're going to shift into, okay, I know what's happening right now. I need to understand this. The skills that are involved now are social. I'm going to watch this in this case, the seller's cues. I'm going to listen very deeply for what's driving this price point. And as you start asking questions, you learn something like, I poured my heart and soul into this place. My wife busted her, you know what, outside, and inside decorating. We just put on a new roof. We just added this. My square footage is blank. My neighbor down the street got $450. Why the hell should he make more than me? So yeah, and now you're getting a sense of justice, and you're getting a sense of, I'm not going to be taken advantage of. Wow, tell me about that. Are we really talking about $450, or are we talking about what that $450 means to you? And you don't want to be taken advantage of. And you want the tail to wag the dog here. I'm your realtor. I'm your consultant. You're paying me to look out for you, but you want to tell me what to do. You can't get offended by that. And if you do, your EI just sunk.
Yeah.
Don't get offended by that, because this isn't about you. What it is about is someone's telling you a number, and that number means something other than an extra 30 grand.
Yeah.
It means something. Just like it means something that you make a certain amount of money, it means something to you because it allows you to do certain things. It's not the number. You're going to get caught at the top of the iceberg. You got to go under it and find out more, much like in the dating example. Oh, really? Because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, 25 years from now, babe, I want to be looking at you with 3 kids.
Right.
Okay. You are it. Because she was. And
Yeah.
you knew it.
Yeah.
Okay. So her seeming objection isn't one at all. It's her expression of what she is interested in the moment, but it has a history to it. There's context. And without understanding the context, you would then have missed out on the love of your life.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to miss out on a sale either. So if you get caught at the top of the conversation and you lack empathy, which is, I totally understand why you would want that. This house is gorgeous. Of course you do. Who wouldn't? Look at the marble in the foyer. Look at that gorgeous bath. Look at this open concept kitchen.
Yep.
Look at what you've done. Of course you do. Makes total sense. If you don't lead with empathy, or you don't have an empathic center to your conversation, people don't feel heard. And empathy is at the heart of emotional intelligence. It's at the heart of leadership. And as soft as that sounds, the research is abundantly clear. It is all about your ability to let someone know that you understand them, that you empathize with them, that you are communicating that to them in a way that's meaningful to them. And then you have a bridge between you. Now we're actually having a conversation. Because really, when you think about it, what does everybody in the world want? Everybody wants to be accepted. They want to feel heard, and they want to feel seen.
Yep.
When you give someone that, they trust you. So if the client's trying to control the conversation, it's because there's something going on here with them, either what that number means to them, or they fundamentally don't trust you and they're going to control. They want to lead the way.
Yeah.
Either way, it's an emotional intelligence skill that needs to be brought to the fore in order to build that trust. And you can't build it through, well, then what the hell are you paying me for if you just want to price the house?
Right.
You can't. What does that do? Nothing.
Right.
Just broke the relationship. And now you're all offended.
Yeah.
So you got to get out of your big feelings, regulate yourself, become aware of what you're feeling, and then drive the conversation from there. That's an EI-based sales conversation in my world.
It should be in everybody's world, right? That should be the conversation in everybody's world, because and here's the other piece to this too. That might not be the best client for me, right? That I may not want to deal with that, because I'm going to have to deal with them for the next 90 days, right? And maybe I don't want to deal with them for the next 90 days. Maybe we're not a match, right? Just like the dating thing. maybe we go on a couple of dates and we're like, yeah, we're good. You know what I mean? Like it was fun, but we're good, you know, but it's on to the next one. And so maybe that's the problem, right? And I think that realtors sometimes out of desperation just take it because they need the next deal. They need the next sale. They need it financially, right? They don't have anything going on right now, or so they just say yes.
Well,
Right.
how many times when you are making decisions out of fear, you're never going to make a good decision. All decisions based out of desperation aren't good decisions.
Mm,
So we already know that. So if you can catch that early, come to your partner. If I'm a realtor and I can come to you and say, listen, I'm really scared. I need you to help me manage my emotion. I do not want to be driven by fear, nor do I want to overprice a house, have it sit on the market longer than it has to, right? And here's what oftentimes happens, that if you allow that to happen, you've lost control of your role as a consultant. Now the client's leading the charge. Okay, we're not really serving our client that way. That's because we didn't know how to have the conversation, which empathizes with the overpriced home and then builds trust to allow me to do my job for you. So listen, if we go, first of all, we haven't even talked about how to look at comps. We haven't even talked about reality testing. We haven't discussed that.
yeah.
Absolutely, I get that. And let's sit down together and I'm going to show you how to price this house so that you get what you want. I'm here for you. We're going to get you what you want. And I want to price your house and get you every dollar you can at a rate that this market will go bananas for. So let's look at that number together. We're going to sit down. I'm going to show you what sold in your neighborhood, right? Not 20 miles away, not Joe down the street, or, Joe down the street, meaning it's his neighbor.
Yeah.
So he hasn't sold his house, but we're just going to look at comps. We're going to get data and we're going to talk about this and explaining if we go too high, that's going to work against us because then your house will sit and then we're going to see a price reduction. And the minute we see that, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong here, the buyers out there are going to immediately say it was priced too high in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're going to come in with the perception that now it's days on market. Now we got days on market. That's not going to serve you. So let's work together. And that would be a way to frame the conversation by understanding why the person wants this higher price. What is the basis of their belief that their house is worth more? You know it is. They don't. You're educating them. You're empathizing with them and helping them get their need met for fairness, right? Because fundamentally, it's either going to be greed oriented, just pure cash, but there's a cost to that. So you would want to really educate people and say, I get it. I absolutely understand why. And if I could for you and I thought I could get that, I would in a heartbeat. But let's look at what the data says. Let's look at what the numbers say and let me help you get the most that you can possibly get for your home, the fairest price. And let's let people walking in this price so beautifully that we're going to create a war. Let's create a war together, right? Let's go to war.
Yeah.
Now that's a different conversation. Now we're going to go 20,000 under what you want, but we're going to create a war. And oh, by the way, I've got these wonderful people that will help you stage, and you can't believe what flowers out front will do, and the smell of chocolate chip cookies in the oven, blah, blah, blah. I am here for you. We're going to get you every dollar you deserve. Let me do my job for you. That's why you hired me. I need you to trust me. Well, I don't need you to trust me. I'm building trust this whole time. Let me lead this. We're going to go there together. Now, that would be an irresistible conversation.
Yes.
Because you're not pushing against the person or making them wrong. You're understanding, and there's so many reasons why, usually emotional, why people believe their house is worth more than it is.
Yeah.
It's usually not driven by data. It's driven by what they did and all the love they put into it. Oh, I know, me too. I love my, I get it, right?
I love my house. Yeah.
I love my house. I raised my kids in this house.
Yep.
Etc. So it's an emotional shovel where you're not hooked by your own emotion of fear. You're able to regulate it. You're able to catch it and then translate your deep listening skills into understanding and not selling, consulting and uncovering and not pushing. So that would be EI at work in the real estate world from my perspective.
God, it's so good because it's one of the things that I talk about a lot too, because it's this push pull, right? Like and what you have to do is eventually, like you said, together, right? Now I put my arm around you And we're looking at what we're going to do in the future together, right? As opposed to, well, you're going to sell it for this much because I said you're going to sell it for this. It's like, that's never going to work, right? You're trying, again, it's digging deeper to finding out what the root cause of that is, right? And I'm a big believer, like, words matter too, right? So, and what I teach a lot is, we're going to sell your house and get you into your home, because that disconnects. It's not your home anymore. That's your house. We're going to get you into your home, right? Because a home feels, if I say we're going to sell your home, you're like, I don't want to sell my house. We're going to sell your house. Perfect. Let's sell this house and get into my home, my dream home, right? Like, that's where I want to get to, because that, again, it touches the emotion again of that person, and it tells them that I care about them, which I do care about them, right? Like, that's another thing. You have to be coming from a place of care to do what we do, because we're handling people's biggest financial decisions for the most part, right? Very rare do you find somebody that just willy-nilly and buys a house, right? Unless you have some investors and whatever. That's a whole nother emotional intelligence conversation. But we are handling typically their biggest financial decisions. And if we don't let them kind of work through their emotion, right, we're almost a disservice too, right? Because to your point, when the guy said, I want to sell for $450 because Joe's down the street sold for $450, and my wife did a lot of work in this house and we raised our kid. He feels that, right? He feels that. It's not an objection. He actually feels that way, right? And so it's like, okay, tell me more about that. How do you feel, right? And then people are going to get down that thing. And one of the other questions that I always like to throw at people too is like, you're open-minded, right? Because nobody says they would disagree. No one's going to say, no, I'm not open-minded at all.
No, that is the art of, and a high EI person, when you ascribe goodness to people, or when you tell them who they are, and it's a beautiful golden light, it's positive. It's one of the most powerful ways to change people is through identity. We know that psychologically. Yeah. So if I say to you, and you're not this way, but if I say to you, Jimmy, you are open-minded, you are fair-minded, and you're rational. And I already listened enough to know that those are things that you value. You're not going to look at me and say, absolutely not, I'm irrational, I'm highly emotional, and I don't think anything through. You wouldn't do that. You would agree. So, we use it in parenting, right? You would say to a child who is, let's say a child is just having difficulty regulating, and they're really emotional, and they're getting into everything. And you say to that child, you are so helpful and I really appreciate you. Could you be my partner right now and help me to do ABC in the home? You're so good at that. Children just perk right up, and all of a sudden they take on the attribute of helpful. Teachers do it in classrooms all the time. They take the most disruptive child, they bring them up front. They say, you're a leader. I see it in you. I can tell. And the child's listening because it feels so good to be seen in that light.
Yeah.
So no one wants to step out of that light. So if you say to your client, you're a reasonable person, I know that you would never want to do anything that would not, the word damage isn't the right word. I know that you wouldn't want to do anything to negatively influence this process. Yeah. And I know that you want to get to your house on the lake. I want that for you too. I want that for you and your family. Right. So, and you hired me to be your partner, and you're a great partner. So you just keep then feeding that image that people want to walk into. They want to be seen that way. They're never going to argue with you. And you're not doing it manipulatively, because I've heard people say that's manipulative. I don't know that it's manipulative to ascribe to people the way they want to be seen. And then if you genuinely can excavate that in yourself by putting your judgment aside, now we've really got some traction.
Yeah.
Right. And you do it from a place of, authenticity. So that's genius to me, is that identity-based conversation where people won't, you're looking for conversation to reduce people's push against you. The push-pull has an energy to it. Where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Typically, you're not understanding someone. In therapy, people don't come into couples therapy saying, Cheri, I really want you to open me up and help me to understand myself, because there's nothing wrong with my partner. It's all me. No, they bring in their partner and they say, look,
see,
here's what's going on. Okay, let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing A, B, C, and D, and they're doing all these other things. Fix them. because they're the problem. So people come in playing the blame game.
Yeah.
That is a push-pull dynamic we're stuck now in a cycle. So if you're in a push-pull with your client, stop right there. Stop right there. You have complete control over that energy. You have to go within and do some inquiry. What am I pulling on? What am I pushing against? What is this dynamic about?
Yep.
If you don't know, go to Jimmy, go to your coach,
Yeah.
go to someone and say, I don't know what's happening here. There's something in me that's a part of this. I want to know what that is. I want to know how I'm contributing to this. Because instead of having my arm around them, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
instead of them sitting at the table side by side, okay, we've got this dynamic that's not serving either one of us. And I'm ready to walk away from this because I don't know how to handle it. A lot of those relationships can be salvaged through emotionally intelligent conversations that don't involve sales. What they involve is, let me uncover what your concern is. Let me understand you. Let me partner with you, build trust with you. These words are easy to talk about, but they take a lifetime to build these skills. EI is a lifetime. It is not a class. It is not an 8-hour seminar. It is a daily commitment to understand yourself, the role you play in your own situations. Self-reflection is absolutely key, which leads to more self-awareness and the ability to take radical risks in conversation and to be raw and honest with your coach. You do that, your numbers will follow. It is a result. Numbers, sales are the result of very skillful interactions that are orchestrated by a highly aware person. They are not an accident. They are a result, which is why I also, and that's not me talking, that's Carol Dweck talking in her book Mindset, which if you don't have that on your bedside right now, get Carol Dweck's book Mindset, because I call them burning building books. So Daniel Goleman, Goleman, wrote Emotional Intelligence at Work. I've read that book, taught this for 25 years. It's a game changer. You want game-changing skills? Get your mind right, as they say in the movie with Paul Newman.
Yep.
Got to get my mind right, boss. Okay. You get your mind right. You get the proper mindset. You get an outcome-based mindset, you get a process-based mindset versus an outcome-based mindset. Process is Carol Dweck's performance-based, very well documented. So you get Carol Dweck's book, DWECK. You couple that with emotional intelligence. You apply that through your training, your coaching, pay close attention, follow the master. The numbers will follow. It is a result. It is not. It's so interesting how we set sales goals, and I understand why, or numbers goals, but they are only the natural result of following a process that is inexplicably successful. You cannot engage in these principles and not build a business. It is impossible. And so it's impossible.
Yeah, it is. It is impossible. And the thing about all this too, right, is like you said, the numbers of money follow. They never lead.
They never lead.
They can't.
They can't.
Right.
Well, they can.
They can, but it's very short term. Right. It's usually short term, and it's probably something illegal.
People do it every day.
Yeah.
I want to make 150. I want to make 2. I want to make 3. They start with what they want to have. You have to start with who you want to be. Who are you being? Start with being. Who am I being? And then from being, doing follows. So who am I being? Am I being disciplined? Am I being empathic? Am I being attentive? Am I attuning to you? Am I being patient? Am I being regulated? Am I being other-oriented? From that, what am I doing? How does that show up with me? Oh, I engage in follow up. I go to Jimmy's coaching calls. I read books. I do these things. Then what do I get to have? $200,000 a year, the house in the Hamptons, the house on the lake, the kids in private school, fill in the blank. But it's a result. And that's Carol Dweck does that. I say be, do, have. Carol Dweck talks about all of the science and studies behind process-driven life, not an outcome-driven life. The data is very clear on this. You have to start with being.
Oh man, look, we've got like 9 minutes left. and we just touched on the be, do, have.
Yeah.
And the be, do, have, I think, is one of the most important things that doesn't get taught enough. right?
Get taught at
It
all.
doesn't get taught at all, right?
No.
Unless we're doing it, but like there's very few of us that do it. But the be, do, have, it never works the opposite way. It never works in the have, do, be, right? Like
that's what we're taught. What we're
Yeah.
taught is, what do you want? And
Yeah.
everyone goes with, well, I want to make this, I want to have this.
Yep.
And then they say, okay, well, so that's what I want to have. And then it's, okay, well, what do I have to do to get that? Well, I got to hustle. I got to get up at 5:30. I've got to blah, blah, blah. I got to do all that. And then I get to be happy. And then it's be at the end. Then I get to be happy.
Yeah.
No, flip it. No, flip. It's the way that it's not just me talking. There is so much data out there. By reading Carol's book, and it is considered a groundbreaking psychological book on the actual science behind performance improvement. What they found, Jimmy, is that when kids focus on grades, when kids are grade focused because their parents are pushing them to get all A's, they actually experience much more stress and do more poorly on tests. They're also more prone to cheating. Why? Those kids are going to get caught cheating because their cortisol levels are going up. They're taking a test. They're very stressed and they're focused on the grade. Children who are taught to enjoy learning, right, to push the grade aside just for a moment, children who are focused on problem solving, right, who are taught problem solving skills perform far better than children who are outcome oriented. And I could go on and on with the data on what happens to you when you are less focused on receiving or outcome and more focused on process. And I'll land with this. Think about weight loss for just a second. I want to weigh I'm going to with the man's weight. I want to weigh 180, right? I want to weigh 180. You're a guy, whatever. You pick a number. You're a female. You want to weigh 130 pounds, and you achieve that weight. And we all know that once that number is met, vast majority of people gain all the weight back plus some, and then we're in a spiral of depression. We think we're losers. Okay, let's apply the be, do, have model to that and say, what do I want to have? A healthy body weight. Who do I have to be to become that? Someone that makes their food, like you take your lunch every day. Someone who exercises, someone who has discipline, who does the weight training even though they don't want to. Someone who has a healthy relationship with food and doesn't necessarily run through a bag of chips and salsa and a six-pack at night, right? So who am I being? But it's not approached from that perspective. It's approached from a number on a scale, which is why it's so abysmally, dismally unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Right. So you just can look at this in so many avenues, so many areas of life and say, it doesn't work.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because it's so true. So when I talk to agents, right, a new agent, and I would say, well, how much do you want to make next year? And that's probably the wrong approach, right? And they all say 100,000. Every one of them.
Figures.
Everybody says 100,000.
Yeah.
Like that's the
100,000.
That's 100,000. That's
the tipping point of success.
Everybody
I'm
says.
six figure. I'm six figure. Yeah.
And people always have asked me, well, why do you think people say that? And I say, one, because they've probably never made that much, right? 6 figures always sounds cool.
Always sounds good.
You know what I mean? Like, why not 7 though, right? Like, what's stopping you from that? And so it's like you get into, then you start breaking that down. But that's one of the things that we find in our industry too, is people get out of it because they feel like failures, right? Now they made 90,000, which is more than they've ever made in their life, but they said they needed to make 100. I'm like, well, why did you need to make 100? Just because it was a good number, or was 90 was more than you've ever made in your life? You missed your goal of 100, but you're close.
That gets to the iceberg metaphor, which is at the top of the iceberg is the number, but underneath it is what it means to me. And the 6 figures means I made it. It's not who I became to get the 90, which is a much better marker, which is an emotional intelligence marker.
Yeah.
I became disciplined. I learned how to connect. I learned how to build trust. I learned how to help people realize their dream of a real home. Like, I don't sell real estate. I put people into happy environments. I help people I help people meet their emotional needs, because the truth is that that's what a home is, a place where I get to be loved and connect. That's what a real home is.
Yeah.
So I actually help people create the life they want through real estate, through the ability to find a home for you, to partner with you, to live your life your way. That is a different motivation than I'm going to find you a house. Anyone can find you a house. I help you live your life. I help you build memories. Disney doesn't sell amusement park. They sell memories. It's at the top of their greeting.
Yeah.
Come here to make memories. They're very clear that you're not a customer. You are a guest. Language is everything. Motivation is everything. You aren't coming to Disney to ride a roller coaster. You're coming to Disney to make memories with your family. I don't sell houses. I help you live your life and build beautiful memories. I do that. No one else does that. Anyone can find you a house. No one does what I do.
Oh my gosh.
Let me partner with you to help you build your life. Trust me. There's nothing I want more for you. That's a different conversation.
You need to be a real estate agent. Let's just get it out. Like, just go get your license. I want to buy a house with you now. Like, I want to use you as an agent. I don't even want
to say it because you mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a technique. You have to really, you said it beautifully. You said you have to care.
Yeah.
Listen, you have to care. So that goes to be sincere, be other oriented, be that empathic person, be that.
Yeah.
Why don't you be that? Then don't worry about the 10 grand law. Don't worry about that. That's not it. You've already succeeded. You've become someone else. You've grown as a human being. Take that, and no one can take that from you. No one can take that.
No one.
Look who you're becoming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We've only got 3 minutes left now.
Okay. Fire away. We've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes left now. What is, so and you're not in real estate. Like, you're not a realtor. Your son's going to be a realtor.
Yes. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
But
on your team.
Yes. But what's like your advice for people just right now? Right? Like, if you were to meet somebody on the street that is feeling kind of down, and we've got a lot of things happening in our world right now, right? There's a lot of stuff happening. Right? So what's like your just advice for people? Does it just shut off the TV? Because that's mine.
Don't dose your news.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I absolutely believe that, again, this is data driven. If you want to, I think this is more true now than ever, but we have a loneliness epidemic. We have millions and millions of people that are atrophying from not being nurtured. If you're starting out your career, the number one thing, and this is what you bring to the table, by the way, and this is exactly what I would tell anyone this: find a tribe that believes in you, that can sustain you through the dark times, because they're coming. They're a natural, integral part of success. The idea that everything is going to go your way is delusional. And I don't mean that like judgmentally. I mean, it's delusional to think that everything will always go your way. So the inevitable downside, the inevitable darkness, can only be overcome with support. So find a tribe that believes in you, that stands by you, that can breathe life into you when you want to take your last breath. That is invaluable. That is much more important than your split. Please don't focus on your split. Please get into a brokerage that believes in you, that pours into you, that would be there for you when the darkness comes, because that's going to sustain you through the next COVID, which metaphorically is around the corner.
Yeah.
The next tariffs, the next, you name it. Get your tribe.
The next price drop, right?
The next price drop, the next soft market.
Agents, right?
Yeah,
right.
The next Jerome Powell move,
Yeah.
where he raises or lowers interest rates, blah, blah, blah. Find your tribe. Find a healthy tribe. Relax and rest. Take refuge in your tribe.
Yeah.
And then watch your numbers follow.
Oh, beautiful. Cheri, where can everybody find you?
Thank you. Well, you can find me. My therapy and coaching practice is the Center for Positive Change in Royal Oak. You can email me at Cheri, I spell that Cheri, at LittleMissPositive.com. I'm 4'11", so it makes sense. You can just email me. And I'm on LinkedIn and all those things. So
I love it. I love it. Little Miss Positive.
That's me. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to meet you. You are everything and more that I've heard about you.
Well, thank you.
Wow. You are a wow, the master. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that so much. And guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week on the Elite Real Estate Podcast next Friday.
Thank you.